Let me show you how easy it is to set up a Windows server, install Active Directory, and add a computer to it. So we're going to be using Windows Hyper-V, but this equally works in Proxmox. So whichever way you want to do it, you can follow along both ways. So the first thing you're going to need is the Windows Server 2019 ISO. And we're also going to be using a Windows 11 VM so we can join the domain. Once you've got both ISOs downloaded, we're going to open Hyper-V and we're going to create our Microsoft Windows Server first. So we're going to click on New, Virtual Machine. Here I'm going to name it ADDS, select Gen 2, I'm going to get better performance. Memory, I'm going to give it 8192, so 8 gigabytes, and turn off use dynamic memory. Under your switch, select your switch. Under virtual disk, I'm going to give it 64 gig because this is just a domain controller. I'm going to click next. Here under install an operating system for bootable image, I'm going to select my Windows Server ISO. Just going to wait for this to be created. Here we've got it there. I'm going to right click it, click on settings. Now under firmware, everything can stay the same. Under security, we want to enable TPM or trusted platform module. Memory can stay the same. And then under processors, give it, I don't know. So I'm going to give it 4 because that'll be plenty. Under integration services, I'm going to turn off backup. And under checkpoints, I'm going to turn off checkpoints. I'm going to click apply, click OK, and I'm going to start the VM. We're going to go through the installation, but it's pretty straightforward, similar to a Windows install. So just click next on here, install Windows as you normally would. Now, where it says select your operating system here, we want to select the second one, which is Windows Server 2022 Standard, and this is the desktop experience. You really want to make sure we select the desktop experience. I'm going to click next, and we're going to sign our life away, custom, and obviously you select that hard drive here and just install it as you normally would. And I'm going to get back to you once this is done. So whilst Windows Server is installing, I'm going to create the Windows 11 VM, but I'm not going to start it just to speed things up a little bit. So again, I'm going to crack on with a new VM here. I'm going to click next, going to call it Win11, click next, generation 2. Again, I'm going to give it 8 gig of memory, click next. Under the switch, I'm going to select my Ethernet switch here. Fine, I'm going to give it 64 gig because I really don't need much more than that, just for demo purposes. And under select the bootable image, I'm going to select Windows 11, going to click next. Just going to have to go back into the settings and under secure boot, enable trusted platform. Under processors, I'm going to give it 4. Checkpoints, I'm going to turn that off, and integration services backup off. Click apply and then click OK. I'm going to wait for Windows Server to reboot now, but we've got the other VM created and we're going to boot that up in a second. Now you obviously don't have to create 2 VMs. You can just use another computer that you've got lying around, but for demo purposes, I'm creating this. Now in Proxmox, it would work exactly the same. You're going to install Windows Server on Proxmox and obviously your Windows 11 ISO as well. You're going to create a VM in Proxmox. So regardless of whether I'm using Hyper-V or Proxmox, the process is exactly the same. So once you get greeted with the login screen here on Windows Server, you're going to go ahead and create a password. This is obviously your admin password, so we want to make sure that's secure. And then click finish, and then it's going to go ahead and set up Windows Server for you. So here you're going to be presented with this screen here, and you're going to obviously have to press Control-Alt-Delete. Now, because we're using a virtual machine, I can just press Action and Control-Alt-Delete into the device and then enter your password that you've just created. And it's going to go ahead and set up Windows Server for us. In the Windows Server environment, it's going to look a little bit different to your traditional kind of Windows environment. So we're now on the home screen here. I'm going to turn this off because we don't need that. I'm just going to give it a second. So I'm then going to go ahead and click on Manage, Add Roles and Features. Here I'm going to click Next. I'm going to leave it at Role for Feature-Based Installation. Click Next. Here we're going to select our server. I'm going to click Next. And here we want to select Active Directory Domain Services and ADDS. I'm going to click Add Feature. I'm going to keep it very basic, so we're just going to install ADDS. Here, nothing we need to do. Next, and then click Next again. And I'm going to set a restart the server automatically. I'm going to click install, and it's going to go ahead and install Active Directory Domain Services for us. So Active Directory is now installed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to change the IP address of the Windows domain controller, the Windows server, to a static one. So we're going to right click on the network icon, click open network settings. Then we're going to click change adapter options, right click on the Ethernet controller here, click properties, and then we're going to go down to TCP IP4, click on use the following IP address. And here we're going to give it an IP address of .11, so 192.168.0.11, and then the default gateway is just your router's IP address. And then under DNS, I'm going to give it quad 9 because that's what I usually use. There we go, and I'm going to click OK and OK again, and it'll just reconfigure the IP address. And we can now check it if we go into our command prompt and type in ipconfig, and we're going to to get presented with our static IP address of .11. It's exactly what we want. So domain services is now installed. We're going to click close. We're now going to click that little flag at the top here with a triangle, and it's going to say promote this server to a domain controller. So this is the next thing that we need to do. So we're going to click on that. Now here we're going to say add a new forest because we want to set up a brand new Active Directory or brand new domain. Now here I'm just going to type in a fictional TLD, so it's going to be boblovestechdemo.com. I'm going to click next. Here everything can stay the same, but we want to set a root password here. I want to make sure that's super secure as well. Click next. We're going to ignore the DNS option here. We're just going to click next. Here, I'm just going to click next. I'm going to click next again. So now we're on this screen here and we're going to click install and the server's going to reboot automatically for us. And there we go. This now tells me that it's installed and it's just going to tell me that we're going to get signed out shortly. We can close that as well, and it'll go ahead and reboot us. So the Windows server is now rebooted. Time to log in again with your server. But we can see here that we've already added the domain that we have created. And we've obviously got the admin account because obviously this is the server. So it's just a case of logging in. We're going to have the server dashboard pop up in a second. So we're now going to go up to tools, then Active Directory users and computers. And here we're going to create our first user that we're going to use to sign in. So you're going to see your domain here. Drop it down. We've got users here. I'm just going to create a very simple user here. So I'm going to right click it, new, and then I'm just going to create a user. Now here I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm just going to call it John Smith. Now here you can select your login name. So I'm going to go j.smith. That's their login names. Everything else can stay the same, and it tells you here the user logon name as well. You can change that if you wanted to for whatever reason. Here we're going to set a password for the user. Now normally you would say user must change password at next logon because you set their password and then they have to create their own password afterwards. But we're just going to untick that. And then we're going to select password never expires. But obviously you want to make sure that you create the right policy for yourself. And we're going to click next and finish. We can now see our user here, right under guest, got our very own user created. So with that out of the way, we can essentially park Windows Server for the time being, and we now need to set up our Windows 11 VM. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process of setting up and installing Windows, and I'm going to come back to you once Windows 11 is up and running. But whilst you're configuring Windows 11, just sign in as you normally would with your normal account. There's nothing fancy that we need to do. It happens once Windows 11 is up and running that we need to add that Windows computer to the domain. So Windows is finally installed, and the first thing we need to do is we're going to right click the adapter settings, click network and internet settings, Ethernet. We're going to go down to where it says DNS server assignment. We're going to click edit, let's select manual, and here we're going to tick IPv4 and we're going to type in our IP address of the server. So in my case, it was 11. I'm going to click save, and that's it. So when I'm back on the home screen, I'm going to open my file explorer. I'm going to right click on this PC. I'm going to click properties. On the right, it's going to say domain or workgroup. I'm going to select that. And here to rename this computer or change its domain or network group, click change. So we're going to click that. Then we're going to click our domain. And here we're going to type in the domain that you've set, boblovestechdemo.com. Here it's now going to ask you to sign in, but we are going to be using the administrator account because we need to enter the username of an account with permission to join the domain. So administrator, and then obviously the password that you've set, setting up Windows Server, and we're going to click OK. And there we go. It says welcome to boblovestechdemo.com domain. So you're now part of the domain. So what it will happen now is we're going to click OK. It's going to reboot, and we're now on the home screen here, but at the bottom left it says other users. So we're going to click that, and it says see sign in to Bob Loves Tech Dem. There's obviously an O missing. Here we're going to enter the user that we have created, and I think that was j.smith, and then obviously the password that you have set for that specific user. And then we're going to press enter and we're going to sign in, and we have now signed in with our user John Smith, and that means we've been successful at adding the user to the active domain, or their computer in this case, because this is obviously a Windows 11 virtual machine that I'm running here. And just to show you, I've got my server running in the background. But again, this could equally be another computer that you've got lying around that you just wanted to play around with. But we are now officially part of the active domain. Now, don't forget that I can equally log out of this account and I can sign in with just my normal user, for example, that I've just been using on this computer. So you can have one kind of account for your playtime or whatever, and then obviously one is going to be your work account here.